Welcome to my channel. Here I document my honest experience building a music tech company. My project is called RCADE, a platform that allows anyone to create remixes with zero music expertise required. Create mashups by putting together stems from different artists, add effects, and share them with the world. I'm 28 years old, my background is in finance, I worked at a few of the biggest companies in music while also running my own record label, and then I taught myself to code in order to build this project. I currently live in Los Angeles and am working hard to bring my vision to life. On this channel, I show the real build process while sharing tips about the music industry, marketing, small business best practices, coding, finance, legal, sales, networking, and all things related to music technology. If you want to follow along, check out the link in the description and definitely join the Discord if you want to chat with me directly. It took a while to get this second video together because of a confluence of factors. I went back home to Michigan for the holidays, the LA fires broke out when I got back.
Holy shit.
And then I simultaneously got strep throat and a stomach bug. I'm happy to be back in the saddle in 2025 and hope you enjoy the video. Feel free to skip around to different timestamps since I cover many different topics in this one. Enjoy! So today I'm going to do some coding, and I also have a couple meetings lined up. One with a guy who runs his own label and works at a music marketing company. And the other guy is a manager who I've been trying to get on his schedule for a little bit. He manages a couple of multi-platinum selling artists, so I'd love to have a call with him. Just putting our project on his radar pretty much. I want to have a couple of case studies out first before I go for working with larger artists. I've talked to a number of people in different parts of the music industry over the past 6 months or so. And one surprise is that people at music marketing companies seem to be some of the most interested in our project. They usually get contracted by labels or management companies who say, we need to do some social media campaigns or other digital activations, go do this for us. And they're always looking for new ways to push music on social media. Also a note for artists, if you are looking to sign with a label, an advance is a great thing to get, but labels at their core are supposed to market your music. And the way labels work these days, even at majors, is they'll say, oh, just keep posting on TikTok, keep posting on TikTok. And that's pretty much the extent of it because TikTok is king. This is something I've heard is really annoying for artists. And the fact that even major labels, this is the extent of their offering, is pretty frustrating. So I would suggest if you are going to sign with a label and get an advance, great, but really be upfront with what it is that they can offer you in terms of support, because outside of very specific activations for large artists, there's not a whole lot that they can really do. Another interesting thing about promoting on TikTok, a new strategy that artists and management teams have been utilizing is to basically tease songs for months before release on social media, basically to see if it pops. And then once there's traction on the pre-released clip, meaning it's not out on Spotify or Apple Music yet, then they'll drop it, which is totally contrary to the way that music promotion has been done in the past.
I don't know, because it's like, I mean, the two biggest ways you're going to make money in publishing are radio and sync.
Yeah.
Like, mechanicals aren't doing shit.
Right.
I mean, bro, it's crazy. The fact there's a government-regulated number of 1/10 of the streaming revenue that's set aside for publishing makes no sense.
Yeah. I know.
The fact that, you might have 4 songwriters on a song, so it's 25% each, 1 million streams on a song, which is no easy task, generating $400. So,
yeah.
What, $100 a person?
Yeah.
On 1 million streams? That's gnarly.
Right. It is gnarly, dude. Yeah.
But I think it's less of like having it as an offer and more of like, it's all about how you frame it to the people, to the artists and to the companies,
right?
Right? Like, I don't think the proper framing would be like, here's another thing that we offer. I think the framing is more like, explaining to each company how they can fit it into their marketing plans.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Like, it's a little off the cuff, so.
Yeah, I'll bear with you.
I think it's like, let's use, for example, who's an artist on the like, we know she's going to be touring all year. She's very interactive with her fans. She is always, she's posting all her own content. She's posting a zillion times. She's a killer. End of story.
So here's another day-to-day classic. I'm currently in a Zoom waiting room for a meeting that I have set up with the manager of a couple multi-platinum selling artists. The goal is to just put this project on his radar, but it's pretty hard to get managers on the phone even if you have a meeting set up. So we'll see what happens. Been in the waiting room for like 20 minutes now. Not looking great, but we'll see. What the? So one of my other favorite things is when you run a company and the government wants more paperwork from you. In this case, it is the FinCEN filing that needs to happen. It's like an anti-money laundering thing. And apparently if you don't file it, it's a $500 a day penalty and you might even get thrown in jail. Oh, somebody! Which is great. And then you post the link in Slack, and if you can see, the preview is the raw CSS because they fucked up setting up their meta tags. So it's just so encouraging when I have to use this link to file something that I could get thrown in jail for if I don't. And the website is an embarrassment. Today, I'm also going to the bank to update some account details on our business bank account and also order a new credit card because I lost mine. It is a beautiful day in Southern California. It's the middle of December and it's 70 degrees, which means I can walk there. Speaking of bank accounts, if you are just starting a new business, or you're an online content creator or a music artist, and you're starting to generate revenue, one of the first things that you want to do is to create an LLC and then open a business bank account. It's very important to keep your personal finances and business finances separate from day one for a number of reasons. Number one is that it makes tax season really easy. You deduct expenses that are associated with the business, and if you're brand new to doing this sort of thing, you might not even know that. If you're a music artist, you're probably paying for subscriptions in order to produce and release your music. These expenses should be deducted from the business. Any expense that goes into the creation of the product that you're putting out and making money off of can be deducted, and then ultimately when tax season comes around, your net income is reduced and your tax burden is reduced as well. The other big thing is that if you're growing and let's say someone comes after you and they want to sue you, or you hopefully never have to file for bankruptcy, there's no recourse to you, the person, and your personal bank account. It's all absorbed by that LLC. An LLC is what's called a flow-through entity, and this is what I would recommend to anybody starting out, which basically means that the revenue that you generate that goes through the LLC comes to you and is classified as personal income, but your business activities are basically sheltered by the LLC, which reduces your potential liability, allows for more legitimate accounting in the eyes of the IRS, and can give you access to things like small business loans as well. Opening an LLC and a business bank account is even more important if you're going into this with partners. The third part of this is having an operating agreement where your roles, expectations, and percentage split of the LLC is outlined from the get-go in a legal document with you and your co-founders. Having a comprehensive operating agreement will save tons of headaches later on if there are ever disagreements between you and your co-founders, because the procedures for sorting out these issues will be outlined in this document. It can get really messy if you don't have this, so this is also a must on day one. Here's an example, you may already be aware of this, of a deduction that I can make because I have this LLC registered with the government. I live in an apartment and I work from home. I pay rent every month so that I can have a place to live. I also generate income here. This is where I do my work. What I can do is say, okay, here's the rent that I pay for this whole apartment, and here's the amount of space in square footage that is dedicated to my office where I do work. Based on that square footage, as a percentage of the total rent that I pay, I can classify this as a deduction on my tax return, which counts against my income, and then my tax burden is overall reduced. Like and subscribe for more tax tips. First order of business today is to work on some social media content, TikTok specifically. I'm going to go through and show you my strategy and my process. So I've batch created this type of TikTok, which I'll show you guys. When it comes to TikTok, what I like to say kind of is that quantity has a quality all its own. So with our funk label, we run multiple edit accounts, and it's just like simple kind of CapCut edits with our music. And we post like 3 a day on each account. So it's like 540 posts a month. And TikTok loves quantity. You don't really want to get caught up on creating like something super impressive. I mean, that can work obviously, but again, quantity has a quality all its own. You can quote me on that. The more you post, the higher the likelihood of getting something to go viral. I mean, it has to be decent quality, obviously, but that's sort of the idea. It's also easiest to just set aside several hours and batch create TikToks and also kind of have a formula because TikTok shows your videos to a bunch of new people basically. Followers aren't really as important on TikTok, but if a person likes your video and it's in a certain format and then it comes across their For You page again, they're going to recognize, oh, it's this channel, this is the format, let me go back and, engage with this and like it, etc. I spent probably like a full day a couple weeks ago. I batch created like 15 of these, and I'll show you the pipeline that I've created to get these out relatively quickly. I'll usually come into Discord where I have a Midjourney bot and generate something that looks cool and kind of goes with the vibe of the music. I'll bring it into Runway, this program that allows you to animate videos with AI. And I'll animate this so that it looks eye-catching. The point is to create an animation that is super eye-catching. It's a little bit more engaging than just an image that's on your TikTok. Next, I'll pop all of this into Premiere here, where I have this template set up. It's exactly 24 seconds every time so that I can easily drag and drop stuff. Next, I will bounce this out of Premiere and then put it into CapCut. CapCut's cool because I can easily put text on this. And again, this is all like a template, so I can just drag and drop the footage that I upload, which is the video from Premiere, have this text ready to go, and then easily export it to all of my social media. On TikTok, you want to have something that's eye-catching and kind of like a call to action a little bit, which is, a consistent marketing tactic. So guess the songs in the mashup is like, okay, cool, there's, an activity here. It's eye-catching, it's engaging, and then as you go through it, there's this timer that counts down. So it's like, okay, I need to wait for something. And the way that TikTok works is it operates off of like and comment engagement, obviously, but also how long users stick around and watch the video. So if they stick around for these 8 seconds, it actually does a lot for the amount of views that you get. Then we have this part of the template here, got the answers, making people wait a little bit longer to see. And then we've got our RCADE UI here. So just getting people familiar with what this looks like. We have our name, RCADE, on here. And then at the end, a call to action. This part I might do some experimentation with. This might be turning some people off because it's like, oh, I'm trying to sell you something. So I'm not really sure. I might nix this at some point and see if engagement gets better, but we'll see. So now once I have this video out there on TikTok, I want to reuse that audio because I've already created it, and this just cuts down on time. And I mean, it's a cool audio. The more that I can post with it, the better, really. Another thing that usually does pretty well is like a how-to video. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and show how to create a remix with RCADE in a how-to style format. It is 5:45 here in Los Angeles. It's dark as hell outside, and it's time to do a little bit of coding. I haven't done any yet today, and I need to focus on the login page because I need a pop-up where if you mess up your email and password details, it prompts you to either try again or redirects you to the sign-up page. So might be doing a little bit of work in the database, middleware for sure, and creating a couple of components, I think. Let's do it. So I actually flew home the next day and my phone had died, so I didn't have time to shoot this. I didn't really feel like shooting anything in my childhood bedroom, so I'll give you a brief rundown of the break. On my way to the airport, I saw this Fisker Ocean on the highway, which is very funny because the company went bankrupt a few months ago. Thoughts and prayers to this man who's gonna have an awful time servicing his car, and I don't know how he's gonna be able to sell it in the future. I worked on the authentication stuff that I had mentioned while I was at home, and here's a clip of my family dog staring at me while I was trying to code. Her name is Cider, and she had just been digging in our Christmas tree, so she had a pine needle on her face. She was very distracting, but she's also very cute. Later that day, I saw something weird out of the corner of my eye, and then I realized that there was a bat in the house. Eventually, I was able to usher it kindly out the door, but my family blamed it on me because I like to leave my window open when I sleep. I don't think this is true because they hibernate during the winter, but nonetheless, people were mad at me. Finally, on New Year's Eve, I was standing outside in the cold for a little while, and I saw this possum who came over to me and I thought he wanted to be friends. As he got closer, I could tell his vibes were a little off, and I was shocked when he called me a bitch for no reason. This made me uncomfortable and I told him to beat it. So it is now 2025, and one of the things I want to be really good about this year is doing the right type of work. And I think not a lot of people talk about this enough in regard to building a successful business. You could be pulling 100+ hours a week on your startup, which is usually what it takes to build a successful project. But if you're not focused on the right thing in order to achieve a goal that you've set for yourself and get all of those things done in pursuit of that goal, you're absolutely losing efficiency. I think that last year I was pretty sporadic in the work that I was doing than maybe I would have liked. So this year I want to make sure that before I dive into anything, I say, okay, here is the work that I should be doing, and it's in pursuit of this goal, which I want to have done by this time. But then the other hard part about that is you have to be the one to figure out what is the best work to do. So you have to do the planning, do the goal setting, and be confident in the fact that that goal that you set for yourself is the right goal. So it's sort of a twofold thing. It's spending your time on the right stuff, but then also having the acumen to be able to say, okay, this is the correct goal to have. This is what I need to be focusing on right now. And that's the hard part because this is such a new idea and we're trying to grow quickly. Figuring out what it is that you need to focus on right now is very difficult. I think a starting place is not getting distracted by what I would call fun work. And usually I can tell if I'm getting distracted by fun work is if I'm stressed out about other work that I probably should be doing. And this other work, most of the time, is what I would call the not fun work. But this is the stuff that needs to get done in order to achieve whatever that goal is. So this year, my not fun work radar is going to be really sensitive, and I'm going to focus on the discipline that is required to do that not fun work. What's going on? Today we're going to do some coding. We're actually going to do some fun coding today. I've got my coding goggles on. I've got my dumb Australian accent, and yeah, let's get fucking into it. So basically the goal of this is to go and create like a loading page. Okay, enough of that. So if I click LinkedIn here, you'll see this loader, this little animation, so it doesn't look like you're stuck. That's basically what we want to do. So let's see how we can implement it. Christ. So first we have to create the animation. We're going to do that with this called Lottie Files. And we're going to start by dipping into Premiere. And here you can see we have our logo. And basically what I did was I found a GIF. We found a GIF of fire. I don't really know why I decided to do this, but I think it looks pretty cool. It's like you made, like a fire beat or something. So I went ahead and bounced that out. Let's close this. My computer is like absolutely overheating. Okay, we dumped that into Lottie, and you can see that we can download this as what we want to do is a JSON file. So downloaded this, looks really nice. And we're gonna again use this for a loading page. So let's do that. Now we're gonna have to install a couple of libraries here. Lottie has Lottie React, so we're gonna download that. And then I also want to create like a nice little typing animation. So we're going to download this as well to our project. So let's boot this up. This is a Next.js project. So if you don't know, here's how you install something like this. I think I already have it installed, so we should get a nice message saying that this requirement is already satisfied. Or we'll get a bunch of warnings too. That's always great. We're not going to fix these right now because the app is running fine as it is. So we're going to do that. We're going to install, what's the other one? React typed. So I said we're doing fun coding today, and I'm staying true to my word in 2025, and I've already done the shitty work. Here's what that looks like authentication in Superbase. So we can do email and password login, or we can do Google. And what needs to happen when you sign up for the first time is you need to click a confirmation email. So we have this nice template here that Superbase provides. I've customized it nicely. But then also you need your own email from which to send correspondences. So the other not fun part was setting up an identity with Amazon SES. This is a great service. There are a lot of other ones that are paid, but if you're a small company, you can send a certain amount of emails every day and it's free, which is great. There's just a little bit more legwork. So we have our identity. We still haven't set up DMARC records, which help bolster the reputation of your email so you're not going to spam all the time. But for our purposes, this is not on the top of the to-do list. So right now when you sign up, nothing really happens for a split second because the page is loading. So I'll show you what this looks like. We've input our information. Let's click sign up. So it's working, but nothing's happening. And then finally we get to this page, which is check your email, and then you can verify your address. So let's go back to login. So let's start coding, and we're going to create our loading animation. Now my disclaimer before I really get into things here is that I am a self-taught developer. When I explain things, hopefully they're in simple terms. But if you are a pro developer, you might look at my code and you might say, what the hell is this guy doing? He doesn't even know how to code. He doesn't know about the standards and customs and protocols. Well, that's very possible. So the thing about this loading screen is that many websites reuse that loading overlay on many of their pages. And that's what I want to be able to do here. So in Next.js, I can use something called a context, and I can wrap our website in this and use this loader on any page that I want. So we're going to start with that. So here we have the libraries that we're using and the hooks as well. So got React, we have our specific hooks from React that we need to use. We're using Material UI for styling, so we are going to take in box and typography. Lottie, of course, which we installed previously. And then we have our animation, which is this JSON file, and React type to create a cool typing animation. So we'll start by creating the context and specifying the state here. Whoops. So now we'll create the provider for this. Need to specify that this can have children components, and we're going to use the useState hook to specify the original state of this provider. Sorry, I have this microphone right in front of me and it is obscuring things. Not to mention the fact that I have these stupid goggles on. Now we only want this loader to show up if isLoading is true. And remember, we set this initial state to false. So nothing is loading unless isLoading is true. So how are we going to specify that? We're going to do curly brackets, isLoading, meaning isLoading must be true. Then we're going to stick everything inside this parentheses. So let's use a box, which is part of the Material UI library, as I mentioned. And we're going to do some styling on this. I guess if you're not a coder and you don't know what this stuff means, but you want to learn, let me know if you want me to create longer videos about this stuff. I guess maybe I could make like a second channel or something, but again, for right now, we're just going to try and fly through this thing. This top box is just going to be a black overlay, so it spans the entire width and height of the screen here. So now we're going to implement useContext just to do some error handling and make this context a little bit more easily accessible. And then we will do some error handling here. So if the context does not exist, throw an error, please. Now we actually need to wrap the entire website in this provider. So this is the code that makes up our sign-in page, and we're just going to create a test button. So first we need to import useLoading. And by importing useLoading, we now have access to the setLoading function. Okay, why are we getting this this React hook useLoading is called in function validate inputs. That is neither a React function component nor a custom React hook function. What the hell? So we're just going to keep on writing code that I know needs to go here and see if that fixes it. Let's call a function called handleTest. So if this function is called, we are going to use setLoading and make this true. And again, I just want to see what this looks like. So we are going to create a promise which basically runs this on a timer. And then after the timeout, set loading will be false, which means again that it will ostensibly go back to the page that we were on and the overlay will be removed. Now, as you can see, I went ahead and I wrote the rest of the code and I said, I don't understand the error message and I don't want to Google it right now. So let me just keep writing my code and see if that resolves it. That is not the case. So now we actually have to do some digging and figure out what the hell is going wrong. Okay, so actually after taking the time to try and understand this for a split second, it seems that I put this React hook inside of this function, which is not a React component, and you can't do that. And it literally says it in this error. Okay, no more errors. That was easy. Coding is great because it can be very humbling. It will tell you that you're very smart, but it will also tell you that you're very stupid at the same time, which is awesome. You've got to keep your ego in check. That is one of the keys to success. All of a sudden you start thinking you're really smart, you lose friends, people stop liking you, you lose respect from your peers. It's not a good deal for anyone. So our sign up route was messed up for a little while, but let's see if it works again. Oh, and it's still messed up. Great, so let's figure that issue out. Okay, so after a while of trying to figure this out, I realized because this is a provider, I need to make space for all of the children components, because if you don't have children, you're in eternal darkness. And it loads. And we have this nice test button up here. So if this works correctly, then we should see our animation flash across the screen. Nice, dude. That's what's up. So again, this is on a 6-second delay, and there we go. It should go away nicely. So the last thing I want to do is add some text that says loading and a nice little animation with, with React typed. I'm just going to go ahead and do that because I think this segment is getting pretty long, and I will show you what it looks like afterward. This was pretty simple, just added some typography that says loading, and then use the React typed component to create this ellipsis, and that is what is going to animate. Nice, perfect. And it should go away. Great. So the last boring step is to, again, create a trigger so that anytime there is a route change on this page, that animation overlay will show up so you know that the website is doing some sort of work and you don't get confused and exit out and leave the website, which is not what we want, or mess something up, like hitting the sign up multiple times, which would be terrible. That is what I'm going to work on after dinner. I hope you enjoyed this coding semi-tutorial because I didn't do that much explaining. If you do want a tutorial, maybe I'll make a longer video on some of this stuff. If you're a pro developer and you saw some awful habits, some heinous customs in my code, I don't know what to do for you. I think that in the next video, we're going to do something super fun, which is to create a reverb filter. Especially if you're into music, you're into the coding side of things, that's actually some fun coding. Stay tuned for that.